everyone, welcome back to another one of my videos. Today's video is going to be my second survivor character guide, and it's going to be for Priestess. Priestess is one of the characters that I've been playing a lot, pretty much since I started the game, I think. I find Priestess a lot of fun, and there's a lot that you can do with her. She's a good kiter, pretty decent rescuer, and most importantly a very amazing support character. So the things you can pull off with your team can be really cool. So I'll start this guide off just like the last one with the basics. So Priestess's external traits. Holy key is her portal. You place it down, you end up on the other side of the object in the direction that you're facing. Fragile, she has 10% decreased vaulting speed, so she is a bit slower with vaulting, and that is something you need to keep in mind. Spiritualist, 10% slower decoding, and a 30% chance of more calibrations. So she is a bit of a slower decoder than most survivors, and she also has the increased chance of calibrations, which you don't want to be missing very often. And Blessed. She heals her teammates 10% faster, and other people heal Priestess 30% faster. So she heals survivors really fast and gets healed even faster. This is one of the things that makes Priestess very, very good, and she can pick people up very quickly after they get injured after going through a super portal. And if she's the kiter, the hunter can struggle a lot with harassment because of how quickly the Priestess can get up if someone else is stalling time. So for persona webs, there are two main builds that I use with Priestess. The one that I use more often in rank is my Tide Turner build, where I go all the way to the right for borrowed time, as with any character, and then all the way down for Tide Turner, exit path as usual, and then my extra points go into 3 points for Doctor, so that I can pick people up quickly if they go down, or if I need to heal someone because they're injured for whatever reason, whether it's after a rescue or the hunter left them. And then I put my remaining points into Distress and 1 in Sticker. This is the build that I tend to use the most in rank. I usually run Tide on Priestess if there is only 1 rescuer on the team. If there are 2 rescuers, I will usually bring Broken Windows, although occasionally I will still bring Tide depending on the situation. And my other build is my Broken Windows build, where I go all the way to the right, borrowed time, all the way to the left, Broken Windows, exit path of course. Once again, 3 points in Doctor, and 1 point in Sticker. I always bring Doctor on my builds for Priestess so that I can heal other people up really quickly, especially if they go through the super portal. I know some other Priestesses run other builds. Sometimes they go down right, Tide and borrowed time, with knee-jerk reflex so that they get the pallet boost but no window boost. Other people do left right with other traits, but these are the 2 builds that I tend to use on Priestess, and I don't really change them. Now for Priestess's best maps. Priestess is better and worse on certain maps, although she can be strong on any map. Her best maps are Eversleeping and Sacred Heart. They're kind of like the most broken for Priestess. She's basically unchaseable on these maps. If you start chasing a Priestess in Hospital or pretty much anywhere on Eversleeping, you're gonna have a really hard time getting her down, and she will most likely waste a lot of your time. So she's a very, very good character on these maps, and her support is definitely quite amazing on them as well. Moonlit, Lakeside, and Leo's Memory are very big maps, so her super portal becomes very strong on these 3 maps, as if she gets a portal from one end of the map to the complete other, it can be very difficult for the hunter to really do anything about a survivor going through if they don't have teleport. These maps also have some really good loops that you can abuse, whether it's 2-story in Moonlit, or Big Boat on Lakeside, or Factory on Leo's. Priestess has very good support on those in those areas, and also is just a very good kiter in those locations. Red Church is also a great map for Priestess. Her kiting is very strong on that map, and she can support survivors very well with her regular portals. Red Church itself is a very good loop for Priestess that she can use when she's kiting, or she can set up portals to help someone else loop that area. Arms Factory is her weakest map. It's small and it's not as easy to portal on that map. The portal locations aren't as good for her, but she's not unplayable. I personally don't like playing Priestess on that map, but occasionally people will still play her. In my opinion, there are better options to use on Arms Factory, but if you want to, you can still play her. Using portals is pretty basic. You go up to an object, usually a wall or something like a big rock or whatever. You face the direction that you want the portal to go, and you click the portal button. Bam, you're there, you go through. For Super Portal, you can either long hold the Super Portal button, which will call out to all of your teammates, and any of them can pick it up, or you can tap it once, look around, and select whichever survivor you want to pick up the portal, and tap again and call them and wait for them to accept. Sometimes portals on thinner walls can be a little more difficult to set up, and you're more likely to do an Oreo portal, basically a portal that pretty much goes nowhere, doesn't help anyone. Sometimes you'll get lucky and the hunter will go through, but a lot of the times they're just gonna break it. So if you're kiting and you're not sure if you can pull off a portal, try to go for something safer that will still keep you alive, isn't as fancy, but will do the job. So now I'm going to talk about setting up portals at the beginning of the match. Usually, if you don't know who the hunter is, you should just go ahead, be safe, set up some sort of escape route portal, something that's close to your cipher that you're decoding, that you can quickly get through if the hunter teleports on top of you or somehow jump scares you in any way. If you know who the hunter is and they can't just teleport on you, whether it's the actual trait teleport or it's Wu Chang's umbrella or Bloody Queen's mirror, you don't necessarily want to waste portals very much unless you have a very bad spawn, so you want to use your portals to kind of prepare an escape route in the case that the hunter goes towards you. Or if you're, for example, trying to get into hospital because you spawned at front gate and you don't want to decode there, obviously. Or you're setting up portals to help someone else kite in the case that they come to the area that you're at. So now for some basic kiting things. One of the strongest points of Priestess when she kites is the way that she can use her portals to loop areas. Moonlit River Park, the 2-story building, is a very good loop. Ever Sleeping, the corner house. Ever Sleeping Graveyard is one that I personally like. Ever Sleeping 2-story that's in the middle. Sacred Heart Hospital. Leo's Memory Factory. Red Church, the church itself. Lakeside Big Boat. All of these are good areas that at times even normal survivors can loop, and Priestess can loop them even more. You can loop them pretty much endlessly if you do it properly, and it'll be very hard for the hunter to do anything about it, and they're gonna have a really hard time chasing you and might end up just leaving you. When you're using portals, you don't want to just portal nowhere just because you're like, alright, I don't know where to kite, I don't know what to do. You don't want to just put a portal down and be like, okay, there we go, I'm kiting. You want to get somewhere. So know where your portal is about to go and where you plan to go after that. Is there a window that's a little past that portal that you can get to, or a pallet that you can drop or vault? You need to know what your next plan is so that you continue kiting and you don't just spam 3 portals, the hunter goes through all of them, and then you have nothing and you don't know what you're doing or where you're going. And finally, the portal trick. I'm sure many of you know what this is. It's when you place a portal down, sometimes you wait a little bit or sometimes you immediately go back through right before the hunter goes through your portal so that it ends up disappearing, since the hunter went through it and it disappears after they go through, and then you're on opposite ends of the portal. I don't usually recommend using this trick very often unless it's your only hope or if it's not a risk to you. Sometimes hunters will wait at the other end of the portal, or sometimes they're further than you think, and so you don't really want to give a free hit to the hunter. If you think you're going to get hit either way, whether they follow you through the portal or not, then you can try to pull it off. But if you can get to another kiting area, to some pallets or a window that you can use, you shouldn't risk the portal trick simply because you might just give out a free hit that you don't want to give out. Next, I'll be talking about rescuing with Priestess. The strongest thing about Priestess's rescuing is her basement rescuing. Hunters that get survivors into basement can't camp as well as they can with other survivors when there's a Priestess on the team ready to rescue, as you can just go somewhere above basement, portal straight down, and rescue. So they can't camp from above basement to try to get the drop down hit on you, but they can still break the portal and try to do it on your way out, but it just depends. There are a few places that are kind of hidden from the hunter that makes it easier to portal in without them noticing. As a result, most of the time against Priestess, hunters will just remain inside of the basement, ready to see if you portal down into it. Other than that, and the insta-save with portal that I'll talk about in a second, Priestess is pretty normal in rescuing. She doesn't really have all that much to help her with the actual rescue in terms of avoiding secondary attacks or anything, so you simply have to rely on mind gaming the hunter. As for the insta-save, that's a very situational type of rescue. You don't want to do it every chance you get, as a lot of times you will do more harm than good by simply insta-saving. Usually you only want to use your portal to insta-save if no one else can rescue and you're injured and already there, or you can do it if it's a very difficult hunter to rescue from, for example, a bonbon or a fully fed sculptor, or sometimes just a detention hunter. To insta-save with portal, you simply go to the back of the chair, put a portal down as the hunter is cheering the survivor. Then once they're done with the cheering animation, they'll go through the portal, get stunned, and you can rescue. Something to be aware of is the timing with the insta-save. If you do it too late, the hunter might back off from the chair. So if they don't go through the portal, sometimes after you get hit, you might end up going through the portal, so you need to make sure to quickly go back through and rescue the survivor in time before the attack animation is over. You don't really want to mess that up. And finally, just before or after you go for a rescue, usually try to set up some sort of portals that the survivor on chair can use to get away from the chair, and to escape, and hopefully do a rebound kite. So now for Priestess's strongest suit, her support. The easiest way to support other characters with Priestess is just by setting up portals for other survivors to use to either just kite normally or to transition between areas. Usually, for example, setting up a portal that can take a survivor into hospital or into Big Bow or any other kind of broken location can be really helpful for their kite. When you give portals to another survivor for them to kite, they basically get to kite as their own character with whatever abilities they have, whether it's prospector magnets or perfumes or an owl or whatever. But they also get to kite in a way as a priestess because of the portals that the priestess set up. That way they kind of have two abilities supporting them in their kite, which makes it a much harder time for the hunter. Another thing with portals is setting up portals that will lead to the long portal from the chair. So after a survivor gets rescued, they can go through a few portals to get to the super portal if they were too far to get there otherwise, or if the hunter would be able to get to the super portal before them and break it otherwise. That way it guarantees that they can get to the super portal, get through after the rescue, and then you can heal them up, and the hunters across the map, what can they do? It's basically a new game. So a question that a lot of people ask me is, when do I super portal? At the beginning of the game, usually the rule of thumb is super portal the moment you get it, as long as the hunter is on someone else. You don't want to get caught in the middle of super portaling and then end up wasting it and having to wait through that long cooldown if the hunter ends up leaving you. And you don't want to just get caught in the middle of summoning your super portal and give out a free hit or something like that. So usually when you do super portal in the beginning of the game, you want to portal to the rescuer if they're not too close to you, as usually someone's going to go down and a lot of the time you're going to have to finish their cipher for them. Otherwise, if the rescuer is really close to where you are, you can simply portal to whoever is furthest away from you, and of course, not getting chased. You never want to super portal to whoever is getting chased, of course. Now, a few special situations. Wu Chang, I don't usually portal as soon as I get it, since a lot of them tend to switch targets very often. So if I don't know that the hunter is committed to someone, I usually won't use my super portal, and instead I'll make sure I have an escape portal in case he switches targets to me. If I know he's committed to someone, I will usually summon my super portal, since it's an escape for me, and at times you can still use the portal against Wu Chang. It's just a lot more situational and difficult. Photographer is also a hunter I don't usually portal immediately against because of his photo world. I don't really want to expose anyone's locations, neither mine nor my teammates' location. And another thing is, with photographer, you don't want to portal to a downed survivor. The only time you would really portal to a downed survivor is if, for example, they're already almost healed up and you know that the photographer is far away from them. If you know that the photographer is far away from them, and especially if he doesn't have teleport, you can go ahead and portal to them when they're almost up, and then heal them up afterwards. But you don't want to expose their location by portaling to them when they just got downed. Against Mad Eyes, that's another hunter that I don't always super portal against immediately, simply because that can give him a free wall hit on me, which I obviously don't want to give. You never want to give out free damage to the hunter. So Mad Eyes, usually the only time I will super portal is if I know he can't wall me, whether it's because I'm in a blind spot against him or I've already drained the console that's nearby me or anything else. And the Undead, Percy, usually the super portal isn't used as often against this hunter. I usually only really use it to portal to a down survivor to pick them up, or maybe end game to try to clutch something out by going through it and then crawling to gate or dungeon. If you want to set up a super portal for a chaired survivor to go through after they get rescued, send it to the rescuer well before they get to the chair. That way the hunter either has to leave the chair to break it, or they have to leave the portal up. Remember, the rescuer will usually have tide turner, so that's 20 seconds that the survivor can spend running towards your super portal to get through it. It doesn't have to be right next to the chair, and it's better if it's not right next to the chair because then the hunter can't do anything about it. Ideally, if you have the chance, you want to set up some portals to get the survivor to get to the super portal if possible. Calling a super portal to someone who's already been hit on tide is a much more risky move. There are a few places that the hunter can't hit the portal from, and you might end up just wasting the portal. It's safer to just call it out earlier to the rescuer. Another good time to summon super portals is to heal up. If the rescuer, for example, got first chase and they took a hit but the hunter switched targets, as they often will since rescuers will waste a lot of their time even if they give a free first hit, you can portal to the rescuer and heal them up so that they're ready to do the rescue without getting double hit when someone else does go down. If the hunter downed someone and completely left them, that is a time where sometimes you can send them a super portal, but you need to be very wary of sending the super portal to them. If the hunter just lost them and you're not sure if you can pick them up in time before the hunter would get to back to the super portal, you don't want to use it, as it would give away the location of both you and the down survivor. And another time that super portal becomes really broken is endgame. What I usually like to do is when I'm opening a gate and someone else is on the other gate, I will go a little bit away from the gate so that if the hunter teleports, I still have a chance to get away. And then I summon a super portal to the other gate, and at that point there is usually not really anything that the hunter can do. If they didn't use teleport, okay, they teleport to one of the gates, and then either you go through the super portal or the other people go through the super portal and you heal them up. On the other hand, if they did already use teleport, then it's even more difficult for them. They have no way of getting anywhere. Either way, you're going to be able to finish opening the gates and escape. There's not really anything that the hunter can do against that in that situation, unless they're, for example, Wu Chang and they can use one teleport and then the other. Either way, it's usually a pretty safe strategy. If the gate is open, you can either portal to whoever is at the gate so that you can get out, or portal to someone else who isn't in the gate if you're inside the gate so that they can get out. If someone got slugged and the hunter completely switched targets to someone else, you can portal to them to heal them up so that both of you can try to get out. There's a lot of different ways to use the super portal, and it's a very, very useful tool that can really change the game and make it very difficult for hunters. Communication with the super portal is very important. When you're not in VCU with the full survivor team, you need to tap on it to select which survivor you send it to, because you don't want someone that's really close to you accepting the super portal and then just wasting it. If you are in VC, communicate with your team, figure out who you want to send it to, who's far away, call it out, and then hold down the portal so that anyone can pick it up. That way, if two people are kind of lined up, sometimes you might accidentally select the wrong person. So to make sure you don't do that, just tell whoever you want to pick it up, and then they can do that, and it'll be a safer way of you using the super portal. So when someone goes through the super portal, you run away from the ciphers just in case the hunter has teleport, and then heal them up from when they're downed if the hunter doesn't teleport. Usually by that point the hunter will be getting close, so unless you know that they switch targets, don't heal up to full. Instead, the survivor that you picked up should hide while you try to distract the hunter and get them away from the injured survivor if it's possible. I'm actually going to show a game right now of how I pull something similar to that off. Here I was duoing with my friend Tom. He was playing mechanic. He got chased by an axe boy and he goes down, and so the gravekeeper goes in for the rescue while the axe boy is chasing his bot. So the axe boy is chasing his bot, you know, he's just trying to waste time, trying to not let his bot go down, and he actually blinks here on the bot, which is good. That makes it easier for a rebound kite, and the gravekeeper rescued, and now Tom's just gonna try to kite, do his best, do what he can. So he makes his way towards Shack, away from where the hunter is. Unfortunately, he does go out of the corrupt area, so he does have a purple fireball around him that gives away his location. So the axe boy does still know where he is. So here he's just trying to kite, do what he can, trying not to die. He did get extra distance because the axe boy switched targets to the bot for temporarily. So here I summon the super portal across the map to the gravekeeper, and Tom calls out to me and he was just like, hey, can you give me some portals to help me get into hospital? We're in VC, so I'm like, alright, where are you? Let me know where you are. I can set up some portals for you. I set up a portal. I only have, I think, 2 at the time, so I set that up, and he's like, alright, can I go for super portal? I'm like, sure, go for it. Let's do it. And the axe boy hits me, so both of us are actually able to get to the super portal. He goes through, I follow, and then, you know, he just gets away, tries to get as much distance as he can, goes down, so I heal him up. And here, the axe boy, we already know he used blink, so he can't teleport to us, so he's trying to get to us as fast as possible. Sacred isn't exactly the smallest map, but it's not the biggest either. We definitely can get to us pretty quickly. So he sneaks around. I tell him stay in the corrupt area, and I'm going to try to bait him to go after me by getting a purple fireball. So I go in the opposite direction. I leave the corrupt area, and I have a purple fireball. The axe boy sees this purple fireball, and so he decides to chase me. I'm also injured already, so I run into hospital. It's my best bet to kite if he does permanently switch targets to me. So I just run around hospital, and I'm trying to make sure I'm just nowhere near Tom so that he can peacefully get healed up, which he does. And then the axe boy leaves, decides to switch targets because Priestess in hospital isn't exactly a great chase. And at this point, Tom is safe, healed up, and the axe boy has to completely switch targets to the gravekeeper. That's just one of many examples on how you can use Super Portal to completely change the game. And remember that your support doesn't simply end with taking someone through the Super Portal and healing them up. You can distract the hunter while they hide. I took the purple fireball, I baited the axe boy into thinking that I was the injured mech, that was running away, and I got the purple fireball. So he started chasing me instead, and he completely lost the mechanic. He didn't know where she was, and she was able to get healed up, and that completely changes the game. He completely lost his main target, who had already been shared once. Another important thing to know, even if you don't play Priestess, you need to know when to go through Super Portal as someone else. The only time you want to go through a Super Portal is if you're injured, unless you're a perfumer that can do the portal trick. So, you know, go through a portal, perfume, go back, perfume back, and then the mirror image is on the side that you end up on. That way the hunter can't hit it. Or if you have the seer owl on you, so that, you know, you can go through the portal, the hunter hits the mirror image, that just gets rid of the owl, and then your mirror image disappears. Just beware that secondary damage hunters can get chip damage on the owl and then basic hit your mirror image to get damage on you. If you're injured while you're kiting, you can get to the Super Portal. Usually, you should do that. After you get rescued, unless the hunter has teleport and you're very sure that you can kite for a longer time away from ciphers without going through the Super Portal, you should usually go through the Super Portal. And you don't want to go through a Super Portal if it's really short. You know, no point, you know, the hunter is going to be able to get to you really quickly and you just give them pretty much a free hit or a free down. And that's the majority of the Priestess guide. There's just still a few small things I think you should keep in mind. Remember, you can pick up portals when you're downed, as long as you're near a wall or anything else that can pick up a portal normally. The bot can pick up a super portal, but only in the situation that it's called to everyone. You can't call a bot directly. Also remember that the hunter can see the portal after it's been accepted. So if you're really close to the hunter, if you were hiding from the hunter or something like that, you don't want to summon the super portal until they can't get close to you, because once it's been accepted and you start going through the process of summoning the portal, the hunter will be able to see the portal. Another cool trick, most of you know, usually the moment you finish summoning a super portal, you'll immediately go to the other end. There is a trick that if you place a normal portal down and then summon your super portal on top of that, you won't go through the super portal immediately. I usually don't really use this trick. I don't tend to call the super portal in a situation where I shouldn't go through it. And also, the more portals you have saved, the better, but it's a useful trick to know. There's also just a trick that I use when kiting sometimes. If I'm mind gaming a pallet vault, sometimes if I vault and I don't have time to vault back, but I don't want to give a hit, I can just place a portal down and get through. That way I don't get terror shocked, and the hunter also can't hit me. So that's about all I wanted to cover. If there's anything that I missed or you have any questions, please let me know down below in the comments. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope it was helpful to you. I know most of the time people consider Priestess to be very intuitive and easy, but I think there are still things that can be learned about her, and especially when to use her abilities. Because, of course, actually using them tends to be pretty easy, but knowing when to use them can be a little more difficult. So yeah, hopefully this helps. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. And that's all for today. Bye bye!